we were talking about non-hardening material, and I asked you to take a pen and pencil, a stress, a strain, and draw different graphs, rough graphs. So hopefully, let me go to the next page, and hopefully you have drawn the same as you will see. So you see, this is the stress strain diagram, a stress strain diagram. If your graph has only this straight line, only this, forget about this one, only this strain line, a straight line, then it is only elastic. The material model is only elastic, which means the purely brittle material. If it is like this, that it goes to the yield stress and then remains flat, it keeps on doing plastic deformation, but the stress does not increase beyond the yield stress. So then it is elastic, perfectly plastic. This is called elastic. Now this whole graph is elastic, perfectly plastic. This is the real graph. This is the real graph where there is a linear region and then there is a non-linear region. We will go to this later on. If this non-linear region becomes this straight line, so there are now two straight lines. One straight line is the elastic region, one straight line is the plastic region. So, but this is called the strain hardening region, from yield strength to ultimate strength, a strain hardening region. So here the strain hardening is linear. You go from 0 to yield strength in a straight line, and then from yield strength you go to the ultimate strength in another straight line. So it is elastic, linear strain hardening. And then the real material, elastic, non-linear strain hardening. So you see, this is the actual real material, but you cannot define any slope here. At each point the slope is different. So if you define it numerically in very small areas, then in each very small length you can have a straight line. So you can define E1, E2, E3, E4, E4. So you can have a multilinear, right? So elastic multilinear strain hardening, which will be approximately equal to the true one, right? But mathematically, the simplest equation will be for the elastic one. The next simple equation will be one straight line equation for this, the other straight line equation for this. The third easier one will be one straight line equation for this, one straight line equation for this. So this will be the material model that you will use inside the deformation and stress and strain and so on. But when you want the real material, then you have a straight line region, and then there is a multilinear region. You have divided from the yield strength to the ultimate strength, which is actually a curve into so many small pieces that each piece is a straight line with a constant slope, right? So this you should have in your mind, that when you are doing higher level physics or mechanics or material science, then what was the material model that you used? Okay. So now to that word non-hardening. Non-hardening means not this type, not this type. Either it is only elastic, right, or it is elastic perfectly plastic. It does not go to the strain hardening region. So a strip yield model assumes plane stress plus a non-hardening material model, which is either the straight elastic region or the elastic plus perfectly plastic horizontal region. Now, actual relationship between CTOD and G depends on the stress state and the strain hardening, both the conditions. So therefore a more general form is this, right? We just had that delta is equal to K1 squared upon sigma YE. So now we are adding M here, M, and we are saying that this is E dash, this is E dash, right? So with these two, now E dash is equal to E, E dash is equal to E for plane stress, E dash is equal to E for plane stress. So this K1 squared by E dash is also G. So either K1 squared upon M sigma Y E dash or G upon M sigma YS, where M is a dimensionless constant close to 1 for plane stress and equal to 2 for plane strain, right? So if it is plane stress where the equations were actually derived, then remove this m is equal to 1. But if it is plane strain, then put m is equal to 2, and this will be approximately the equation for plane strain. So by using E dash and this m, we are continuing the equation in a more general form. Now there are a number of alternative definitions of CTOD. Alternative definitions of CTOD that you see, draw a rough sketch and show where CTOD is. So we will just show this figure. Two more common ones. Displacement at the original crack tip is one definition, and 90-degree intercept. This was suggested by Rice, another scientist, very famous scientist, and commonly used to infer CTOD in finite element measurements. So the original definition is displacement at the original crack tip. The modified definition is the 90-degree intercept, which will just show you. And if you use finite elements, then this definition is more adaptable and so on. Note that these two definitions are equivalent if the crack blunts in a semicircle. If the shape of the crack blunting is circular, then both of them are the same. Let us. So this was, remember, the original thing. This was the original thing, that this was the sharp crack. It had opened this much. It had opened this much. So the opening at the tip of the crack. This is just one thing. The other is that at the center, at the longitudinal center of the extended opened crack, make a point and make a 90-degree angle on that. Make a 90-degree angle on that. And wherever this 90-degree cuts, that is the delta. So this is the 90-degree intercept definition. Now, if this is a perfect semicircle, then this and this are the same. But if this is more like an ellipse, then this is different than that one, right? So alternative definitions of CTOD: in A, displacement at the original crack tip; in B, displacement at an intersection of a 90-degree vertex with the crack flanks. So these are the two most common definitions of CTOD, that how should we geometrically define CTOD. Otherwise there could be other definitions, but these are the two ones that we are taking here as the more common ones. In most laboratory measurements of CTOD, now this is a big jump. How it is done, we are not saying right now, but laboratory measurement of CTOD, this is major. Remember, laboratory measurement of the crack and the extension of the crack was done by that direct potential, this, that big machine. So now we need some higher level thing to measure the CTOD. Edge cracked specimens are loaded in 3-point bending, the SEB, single edge bending. In early experiments, the measurements were inaccurate. It was difficult to reach the crack tip with something called a paddle gauge. There is a crack tip, right? There is a crack tip, and the crack tip is now opening. So you are trying to put a gauge inside there and open it until it touches both sides of the opened crack. So this type of a gauge was called a paddle gauge, and because it was difficult to reach inside the crack tip, therefore the measurements were slightly inaccurate. Nowadays we will see the figure. Displacement V at the crack mouth is measured, simple V, and CTOD is inferred by assuming that the specimen halves are rigid and rotate about a hinge point. We will show you the figure, it will become more clear. And if that hinge system, right, hinge is just like your door, right? The door moves. If you hit the door, it moves in an angle, and those clamps on the door side are called hinges. So hinge is on which you rotate, right? So we will see the figure, but then the CTOD can be estimated from similar triangles. You construct similar triangles on that figure, and then you will see that delta is the CTOD upon RW minus A is equal to V upon RW minus A plus A. Or from here it is similar triangles. one side of a triangle upon another side, similar side of the triangle upon similar side of the another triangle, right? So then delta will be r w minus a v r w minus a plus a, where r is a rotational factor, which is a dimensionless constant between 0 and 1. And let us just look at the figure now, then these equations will become easier. So first we are showing you the table. Remember that this was SENT, single edge notch tension, and this was single edge notch bending. So there is a single notch, but the 3-point bending, 1 load, 2 load, 3 load, this 3-point bending. So this specimen is used, because when this will be there, then this crack will open, right? This crack will open up, because this is pulling this way, this is pushing this way. So this crack will be opening, right? Opening. So that is what we want to measure. So now this is like this, that we are having this schematic diagram, that because you are doing 3-point bending, you are trying to bend this way, bend this way. So whatever was the original V notch has now opened up. Now the real delta is here. Near the crack tip. We earlier tried to send a paddle gauge inside and measure it, but those measurements were inaccurate. So now they say measure only this distance with the gauge or the paddle gauge, which is very open. This is the opening right now. Don't go inside. So this can be very accurately measured, V. Then A is the crack size, W is the width, and R is a rotational factor. So this is R into W minus A. So you see, if there is this triangle, this big triangle, and then there is a smaller triangle, then you can go back to the previous figure, that A upon this is equal to R upon W minus A upon this, and so on, right? And the 3-point bend with P here, right? So now you don't have to go inside the crack to measure delta. You measure V at the very opened side of the crack, and by the equation find delta as defined in the previous equation. So this is a much more accurate way, right? The hinge model for estimating CTOD from 3-point bend specimens. The hinge model is also inaccurate when displacements are primarily elastic only. You see, we should say that if they are only elastic, then we should use LEFM. Why go to the higher level of EPFM, elastic plastic, right? So that is the first thing. Standard methods for CTOD testing use a modified hinge model. This hinge model can be inaccurate, so they use a modified hinge model. Displacements are separated into elastic and plastic components. Hinge assumption is applied only to the plastic displacement. In the figure on the next page, there is a typical load P versus the displacement V. This curve for a CTOD test. Shape is similar to a stress-strain curve, initially linear but deviates from linearity with plastic deformation. At any given point on the curve, displacement is separated into elastic and plastic components by constructing a line parallel to the elastic loading line, just like in a standard stress-strain diagram. The dashed line represents path of unloading for this specimen, assuming the crack does not grow during the test. So see, this is the load, and this is the crack mouth opening displacement. So as the crack opens more and more, right? So the load is there. Initially this is linear, then it becomes non-linear, right? So at any point, if you want to find out the plastic component, remember at this point the total is here. But if you draw a line parallel to this one, then this is the plastic portion. So what we were saying is that we find this plastic portion only, and then we apply the previous equation to this. We will continue this inshallah, and see you later hopefully. Ma'as salama for now.